And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek, the original series episode, The Return of the Archons, which we've focused on before on other Starfleet Boy adventures through Lower Decks and our rewatch. We did a watch along of this, if you recall.
Yeah, 13 weeks ago.
Was that 13 weeks ago? You actually know that? That's insane.
Well, that
Your
was the
mind.
That was the last episode of Lower Decks season 1. And then
that's right. So it was 13.
We did 13 episodes of Discovery. So it would have been exactly
Wow.
13 weeks ago.
Oh, it's not that. I'm just not clever. We lost Robbie because he had to tweet, but he's back. Wow, welcome.
What's up, Robbie?
Hi.
Robbie's chilling. We we had a question for you, Robbie, on Starfleet Boy After Dark last night, but you were already like sleeping or something, and I can't remember what the question.
It would have been like 5 in the morning his time.
Yeah, 5 in the morning. Well, Dom was up at that time, so whatever. I don't know what people do. But I can't remember the question. Do you remember, Father? I think it was your question.
No, I do not remember.
All right. Well, we are hopefully going to be joined by a couple more guests. I think Ian's trying to make it, and maybe PJ if he's awake. We had a really long Starfleet Boy After Dark session last night, so I guess we'll get started with the episode summary. Everyone hates the episode summary anyway, so people come in usually after that. But do one of you guys want to do the episode summary?
I kind of don't want you to do it.
All right, I nominate Robbie.
Yeah, let's let Robbie handle it.
All right, Robbie, take it away. Give us the episode summary.
Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and an away team beam down to this western-looking planet. When they soon find out that the civilians are controlled by this being called Landru, and they have to stop Landru, save the civilians from oppression. And that's my episode summary.
Very good. All right. I think that's what Father wanted, like a quick summary. So there we go. We got it. Ian, welcome. Are you of the body?
I am of the body. I am of the body.
Excellent. Welcome to paradise, Ian. I meant to do that, by the way. I meant to do this gag in the beginning, and I totally failed. And I even had my name as Landru and everything, and I totally failed. So I guess we can get right down to brass tacks. What did you guys think of this episode? Now, Ian hasn't seen it in a while, but you've probably seen it before.
I know. I watched it. Yeah, I watched it the other week, actually.
Oh, sweet. That's right.
Yeah. So, to me, it's the prelude to the film The Purge.
We were just talking about that offline. It's true, right? Like it has a lot of connections to those movies, The Purge. Now, I have never seen any of those Purge movies. I'm not a huge fan of horror films, and because they freak me out, basically. Yeah. But the concept, even here, I get freaked out when I watch this. Like the idea that anyone can just have like a red hour and go nuts and start like killing and doing all that stuff and raping and stuff. Yeah, it was like. It just baffles me, and it's a very frightening idea. Spock called them soulless and without spirit, and I thought so. At first, when I was watching this episode again with Robbie just now, actually, and I've watched it like a bunch of times before, but when we were watching it again this time, I was like. I always forget that like some of the details, right? So at first when I was watching, I was just like really perturbed by the performances of how people are when they're in that state of being of the body.
Vacant,
just like,
basically.
What is it?
Vacant.
Yeah, like very vacant, very like intense, like, even, that first scene when they encounter that very sweaty man.
Yeah.
Who's like, like, oh, my uncle's got You know what I'm talking about, right? He's like, my uncle. Oh no, your uncle.
Are you from the valley?
Yeah, you from the valley. You know that guy, like all of that, and even the daughter who responds, and she's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But then we get a little relief when we see the older folks. Even though there's that other guy who's like a total narc. Oh wow, Father's gonna yawn and make me yawn this whole time.
Sorry.
Again. We get these. We're gonna have to shorten the After Darks, Father. Even.
I think that's your red hour. To be
staying
honest, I
up
think
too late.
After Dark is your red hour.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Festival.
festival. Last night's After Dark was interesting to say the least. We'll just leave it at that.
The guy in this episode who yells festival is Bobby Clark, who was the actor, or one of the actors. I guess there's multiple people, but one of the actors who played the Gorn in Arena.
Oh, is it?
That's right. Oh,
Yeah.
very cool. This is Landrew. Do not obey is here. Brainwashed Zulu is adorable, and Jay Roberts is here. Hey Jay, hi boys. Fathery got Robbie to yawn again.
I have that
like-
that brain control power, or mind control.
I liked the idea that 6,000 years ago this planet was like an advanced civilization to some degree, and then something happened. And I can't stop yawning. This is gonna be a tradition now on Starly Boy. It's like I'm gonna block Fathery's camera. No, I'm just kidding.
Whenever actually when he hides behind the mic, then you know that's a yawn.
Like 6,000 years ago, there was like an advanced civilization on this planet, and it reminded me a little bit of things like the Baul, how they kept the Kelpians oppressed and like, you know, brainwashed essentially. It was a very similar idea with the Great Eye or whatever that watched over them, and a whole lot of stuff like that. And it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing how Star Trek has a way of like doing these stories that you think are on surface they're kind of like, okay, yeah, well, it's another like oppressed society brainwash thing, but when you like really dive deep into it, you're realizing, oh, it's like really relevant to like some of the things that are going on in the world still today, because that's like a big problem, like mind control, brainwashing, not necessarily mind control in the sense of like using a device to control one's mind, or although, you know, some of us put on our tinfoil hats, but but through persuasive kind of means, utilizing fear in essence to control people. And this society is one Landrew points out and says like, oh, there's no crime here, there's no, you know, greed. Like he just describes like a utopia, but when you look at it from our perspective and the perspective of the crew, it's definitely not a utopia. I mean, like they're like what Spock said, they're like a soulless sort of society. And so I think this episode is really still relevant today. It was very cool. It was cool to rewatch it and see all these like themes. What did you guys think?
Basically, Landrew is social media.
Interesting take. Can you expand on that? Yeah.
Well, what can I say? I think he's relevant for what happened this week. Really, I think all I'll say is the maggots. I won't say they're full bit. They're bits storming Washington. I think following the word of a certain politician.
Who bears no resemblance to Landrew whatsoever. No,
he's the one who's doing this, and they're just following it blindly. I think it's that type of thing. I mean, there are people out. I mean, you could see it with that. You could see with what's happened recently. You can see it with cults. You can see it with so many different things that happen around the world. It's not just in America, but around the world. So, yeah, I think in that respect, it's still very, very on point, even though, you know, it was over 50, you know, it's 50 odd years ago when this was first screened. And it's really, really sad that we've not moved on enough that it's not relevant anymore. It's still so relevant. I think they. I mean, they regurgitated this story as well with what's the one with David Soul in it, where they're all red and they don't know what children are.
Oh, the apple. The apple.
The apple, yeah, similar type thing.
Oh.
So it's with the computers controlling, there. So similar elements on that side. So yeah, I still think it's quite relevant.
And a story that needs to be still told. Go ahead, Father. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, in the '60s, I think that, like, there was a lot of fear of, like, cult culture. I guess, like, you had, like, the Moonies and stuff like that, where like people were kind of joining, like, these weird like new age religious groups, and I think that might have been, like, inspiration for the story a little bit.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's very much sort of brainwashing type thing. They're following. They have to follow that edict, and then obviously they're allowed to let loose for overnight or whatever it is, for 12 hours.
It was cool that the character, what was his name, Rhaegar, the one who's immune to absorption. I thought that was a cool concept, because I was, like, wondering, why isn't he affected by Landru? Because Landru can just, like, kind of all of a sudden take the body and make it do whatever, in the scene where they're being attacked, make it do whatever you want. And so I thought it was neat that you could have immunity to it, and I wish they had explored that a little bit more. But that character was just, like, so fearful too, trying to, like, blend in and not be caught and stuff, and it's a wonder he went that long without being noticed, because he was quite obviously not of the body.
Well, I think it's thing to be as well. I mean, I think it got to a certain you got to a certain age as well where
that's right.
It was you were immune to it. So, but you still had the other one who went and tattled on them, and said, "Oh, they're not of the body. I'm going to go and get them." And
yeah, I call him the narc.
Yeah, the narc.
He's the
narc. So yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I think this one sort of could have had elements of, like, a horror type thing to it. I mean, we spoke about The Purge earlier. It does lend itself to the horror side of science fiction. I mean, I think if it was done today, I think it would be a lot more graphic now than it was done back in the 60s.
Yes, we would have eye trauma in it, not to.
People would be like fun out people's eyes and stabbing each other in the eyes.
Stuff like that.
PJ would be mad about it.
PJ would be mad about it. Jay says, new drinking game. Take a shot when one of us yawns. You'll be very inebriated. Robbie's antagonizing you. Go ahead, take a shot. That's funny. You'll be very drunk if you do that. Don't do it, Jay Roberts. Jill says, why did the costumes go from 18th century to 19th century after the theme song? We also caught that it went from day to night, like, instantly. In one scene, so there were some really weird incongruities.
Well, I mean, the change of costumes, that was the bit with Sulu, because he said they knew we were Archons straight away. We were not dressed right. This is what we should have been dressed.
Oh, I
in.
Missed that.
That was cool. That was right at the start. After Sulu gets transported, he throws a set of clothes at them and says they knew straight away we were Archons, and that's how they knew. Yeah, that's how they knew that it was different clothes.
Father is on the planet there.
He's going to join festival.
That's cool. Thanks for pointing that out. But what about did you notice the day to night, instant day to night error?
No, when does that happen?
So Kirk and crew are on the, they've met, like, that guy and the daughter of the innkeeper, and so it's daytime, and I think noon is the red hour, right? Like it was like
No,
12
6 o'clock.
noon.
It was
Oh,
6
6
o'clock.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess okay. Now it makes a little more sense, maybe, because it could get dark pretty fast. But they didn't spend an hour talking and then going to their rooms. They only spent like 10 minutes and it was daylight when they walked in to the inn. And when Kirk looks out the window, it's like full nighttime. Like it looks like it's like 8 o'clock. So it looks like several hours passed. And so that's what was a little confusing to me.
I think he could also have been used as a metaphor, to be honest, as well. Obviously, because it's the witching hour, the red hour, and everything, so it happens. So basically, everybody's light and but when it's the red hour, it's all very dark and very violent. So it could have been used as a metaphor as well.
I like that too. Wow, you got some good thesis defenses today. Ian. That was really nice. I still think it's a continuity error, but whatever. I like that. I like that explanation. Hey, Captain RGD, welcome. TOS encountered lots of androids and TNG leverages maybe the Borg. Picard dealing also with evil androids like Discovery with control, and Zora as some enemies and good guys. Yeah, we have a lot of AI, but I think now that we're facing the dawn of the AI era in actual real life, it's good to have all these examples of how it can go wrong.
Yeah. You never know. We still may get Terminator.
We might still get Terminator. I think we're gonna get something more like Control though, or Landru. This is absolutely a horror episode. The only episode that scared me more as a child was the Three Witches in Catspaw. That's right. I had a flashback to my childhood. My dad used to put on a sheet, like kind of a darker, we had like like a it was floral actually. But regardless, he used to put on a sheet and he used to get a broomstick and slowly walk over to me when I was a kid, threatening to absorb me because he saw that I was like freaked out by these guys, all in good fun, of course. But I remembered that, and so I have that like childhood memory. It wasn't traumatic, don't worry, but but I just remember my dad was having a laugh doing that to me.
Those dudes with the robes on, one of them, the one that speaks, I guess, was played by Sid Haig, who would go on to have a larger career and appear in a bunch of Rob Zombie movies.
Oh, right on.
And he passed away recently.
Yeah, we mentioned that on our watch along. I think I recall us talking about that. That's very cool. By the way, we did I can't do like Father does. I don't remember what episode number it was, but like if you go back to our watch alongs, I'll try to link it in the description. I'll go find it and I'll link it in the description.
Like whatever your last night one is, like minus 13.
Minus 13. Yeah. By the way, it's really smart that you number your episodes. What's that?
Sometime last year.
Sometime last year. It's
Indeed.
True. Yosef says, "Did you just assume the planets cycle? You are a spacist." That's a good point too, Yosef. It's true. An hour doesn't necessarily have to be the same on this planet. It's a very good point. Like day and night can pass very quickly. It all depends on the speed at which it rotates and good point. And the size of the planet even, and the diameter and stuff like that. I will say that when Landru was attacking the Enterprise, Captain Kirk was doing another little like nitpick of this episode. Captain Kirk's like, these heat beams are attacking the Enterprise, but the Enterprise looks undeterred. It's like in orbit, just like kind of casually like orbiting the planet in that scene. So I would have liked to have seen some heat beams or shaking or something. If you're gonna, they've certainly added things in the previous remastered episodes like that weren't in the original effects, so I would have actually liked to have seen that.
Yeah. But I think you can say that. I mean, heat beams necessarily. I mean, they could be invisible beams. You don't see heat, do you? Really, it's you see the waviness of when you're out. You can see the waviness of heat and everything, but you can get away with not actually having any light beams on for heat.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. You could do that.
Mind you said about continuity errors. There was one blaring one when Kirk puts on the robe. You know, he's putting the robe. He's only got his waistcoat on. When he takes it off, he's got the jacket.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That was
This
one
episode was rife with those things.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Landru himself?
I guess the reveal was kind of interesting. That it was just like the computer all along. Like you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
It was a bit like a gothic fashion queen.
I'm glad you said it. Landry does have a gothic fashion queen look to him. I actually,
I thought it was more new romantic myself. With the hair.
Love it. Have you guys? I like to ask this question because both you and Ian have been to cons. Have you ever seen a Landry cosplay?
No, I think I've seen a picture of somebody that has. I've not personally seen it, but I think I've seen a picture from whether it's Las Vegas or a destination I've not been to. I think there has been somebody
I have
that
to look it up.
Yeah.
If you guys know of any cosplayers in the audience that have cosplayed as Landrew, reach out to me because I would like to meet them. I don't see anything that comes up just like on a Google search, so there's no public. And when you type Landrew, oddly Magneto comes up, which is really people cosplaying as Magneto come up, which is pretty interesting.
That's not what I got when I googled it, but I got something.
What did you get?
I got Corpse Bride cosplay, like the Tim Burton movie, Corpse Bride.
That's weird that would come up for Landrew.
I'm not sure why.
It's also weird that it didn't come up for me. Oh, weird. And do you see the cosplay of someone with like a gigantic like diamond shaped thing with a sidekick that's like a head with a hole in it?
Oh yeah, what the hell is that?
Sorry, we won't dive. We're not gonna dive too deep into what comes up on Google. What comes up on it looks like Pan's Labyrinth actually. What comes up on Google? Guys, I have another question. Would you like to see this story somehow? Would you like to? We have had a return, as Jill pointed out with her awesome YouTube name. This is Landry Do Not Obey, a reference to Lower Decks. But would you like to see, you know how we revisited in Discovery the Guardian of Forever? Do you think the Archons, the Return of the Archons planet is worth like more, or like do you think we should see Landrew again or like revisit this?
No.
Is it canon that Landrew like also is it canon now that Landrew somehow managed to dupe these people into being of the body?
Yes. If you want to spoil Lower Decks for the countries that it has not been released in.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally messed up. Damn it! Yeah. That's you, right, Ian? You haven't seen it.
Oh no! Thankfully, I have seen it.
Oh.
You're all right. I have seen Lower Decks.
Okay, good.
I am very much an advocate for defending people in Europe and UK and the rest of the world that haven't seen it. You know, it's only officially been America and Canada that's seen it.
I like to not give spoilers personally. Like I try my best to respect spoilers, but like it's really hard after 13 weeks to remember that like CBS didn't release it till just now in the UK. Yeah, so I apologize.
I was saying to Trek on the Tube sort of recently, turning around saying, "Oh, we've had 23 weeks of Trek. How are we going to cope?" And I'm thinking, well, there's people in Europe and everything else. It's not over yet. It's going to be coming on soon on Amazon Prime.
Jill has a cool thesis going on. This is another episode that's the Measure of a Man. Data was creative. Damn it. You know, I think that's because our idea of artificial intelligence has changed a little bit since the home computer and like kind of came into ubiquity, right? Like I think in the 60s there was still a fear of technology and a computer thing. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that tonally in the TOS era.
Yeah.
Not you don't see it in the Federation necessarily or in Starfleet because they use computers and artificial intelligence and it's just like a natural part of life, but you do see it in like in situations like this of Landru and stuff like
Well,
that.
in season 2, we will see a Federation computer be the
Oh, that's
villain
right.
of a story.
That's right. That's right. We will.
An ultimate
forgot about that.
computer, you might
Daystrom.
say.
What's that?
Yeah,
An ultimate
an
computer,
ultimate.
you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, and I've said it's also in the Apple as well. We have again a computer intelligence controlling a race of humanoids in this as well. So yeah, it does happen. I think you're right. I think in the 60s there was this fear of computers and
Yeah.
what they were going to be. I think we're talking. It's not long after the we've had in the 60s. You've had the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've had this. They're afraid that are the computers are just going to let these nuclear bombs off, missiles off, and everything else. So I think that was still very, very much on the mindset of America of the time that when this was being written.
I think it's good to explore two sides of one different topic.
Yeah, definitely. I think you say it, but I would not necessarily Landru, but I think I would like to see it revisited in Star Trek and seen and say, like Robbie says, see it from the two sides. Like from people who are being controlled as such. Do they think they're being controlled? And then you've got Starfleet come in and this is wrong. You're stagnating. That type of thing. It would be interesting to be revisited in today's sensibility as opposed to the sensibility of the 1960s.
Do you guys think Control kind of addressed that a little bit in Disco season 2? No.
No. I think they just had like a slot open for like we need like a big bad guy, and that'll cause problems for our heroes, and then they have to like run around and like blow stuff up and figure stuff out and do all this stuff to defeat. And they just came up with Control for that, but it could have been anything. It didn't necessarily become a story about artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, you've still got the artificial intelligence on Discovery. You've still got that as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So they're still messing around with this stuff.
Yeah.
I would really, I'm not one for going back in time or stuff like that. I think there might be. I'm trying to look up on Memory Beta deals with like the extended sort of like novels and books and stuff like that, non-canonical things.
Beta canon, yeah.
Yeah, and so there doesn't seem. Maybe I'm not like seeing it here. I don't see any other like related things to this, but I was very interested by the Archons and like the idea of like going back 6,000 years ago to kind of see
how it
happened. And so I wouldn't mind like a short treks. I've always kind of like hoped, and I think it still has the potential to do this, that short treks would go beyond just like the current iterations. Like I think short treks is such a cool vehicle to like do like explorations of other.
A lot of potential.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in short treks.
And
so
I
nominate.
I
don't forget
like most of them that they've done.
Yeah. What's that?
I think it has potential. I haven't enjoyed most of the shorts they've done. I like some of them, but I think it does have a lot of potential, and they haven't realized what exactly to do with those.
Don't forget we've got Strange New Worlds coming as well. So you've got a whole, this is the TOS era again. So you do have again with Pike, Spock, and Number One, you've got the chance to revisit these type of stories again. They said they're going back to the episodic type again. So that could be the vehicle. What they use is these Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could certainly. I don't know if you. I don't know if it would actually break anything because is it established that this is a first contact mission?
Well, the Archon ship that was crashed there would be the first contact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't
That's right.
necessarily you don't
They
necessarily
killed all of them. That's right. I forgot about that.
you don't necessarily have to use that story. You could use another planet, another. I mean, they did it a couple of times. You could still reuse that story, but elsewhere. I think that's probably the way to probably tell the story. I think they've probably learned a bit through Discovery that not try to tread so much on the toes of TOS, but maybe do some other stories. But you could use that type of thing elsewhere. I mean, the galaxy's a big place. You could, how many planets could do it? So
Yeah, it's true.
Hope we got some more short tracks.
Sorry,
do
Robbie, what'd you
revisit
say?
Sorry.
I
What'd
hope
you
we
say,
get
Rob?
some more short tracks soon.
You hope we get more short treks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will. I
think we will.
We'll-
I think
Yeah.
I don't know
think
about this season. I don't know about this year though.
No, we'll get them this year because.
Oh, we
those-
will. Oh,
well,
fantastic.
those are like quick and easy and short. Like it doesn't take a long time to make those, and they're gonna have a long time before they get the next live action Star Trek show out. So they're gonna pump out some of those short treks because here in the States they want to keep people subscribed to CBS All Access or Paramount Plus as it's about to be rebranded as.
When is that? Is there a set date on that? By the way, on the Paramount Plus.
A long time ago they were saying January 2021, but they haven't said anything in a long time. So I don't think that's happening.
And that'll be a
immediately, but
platform
soon.
that'll be a platform that you can access everywhere. Like it won't just be a USA based platform.
Yeah, I think
right?
it's going to be an international release. Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting because when you think Star Trek's on Amazon, it's on Netflix. How are they going to do that? Are you going to be able to see both on both platforms?
On CBS All Access, everything that's on Netflix is also on. Because I get all of Star Trek except Discovery. Everything. Sorry, TOS, TAS, TNG, DS9, and Voyager and Enterprise are all on Netflix for us. They're also
TAS
all. TAS is not on Netflix.
Oh, we do.
They took it down like a year or two.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Thankfully, we have it. We have it on Netflix. We have the animated series on Netflix.
Very cool. But okay, I didn't realize that.
But we
didn't
still have it
here.
on CBS All Access.
Yeah, and then we have everything also on CBS All Access, so it's very interesting.
But when these contracts expire, I think eventually
It'll just be
everyone
on
is
Paramount
going to
Plus.
be watching it on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That's interesting. That's very cool. Well,
I think
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just thought of something. I think one thing of the story that they really didn't explore, and it would have been interesting, was the metal tube that the lawgivers used. Because they shot somebody and they went, "Oh, it's just a metal tube."
Right.
I think that could have been something. How did it happen? They sort of didn't. It was a metal tube, and then that was it. They just dropped that part of the story there and then.
Yeah.
And that would be quite
whatever civilization created Landru, whatever they're called, because I don't think they're named, right?
No.
Whatever that civilization is, they even had like really cool, like that light panel was very interesting, and like so they have like they definitely have superior technology that's like magic in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I could imagine that like the device looks inert to our sensors and our eyes, but there is definitely some like super amazing technology. That's what I want to say is like it would be neat to it would definitely be neat to like have a short trek explore that kind of like at them at the point of the fall that led to this. Now, one thing that I do find hard to, I didn't mind it as a kid because I didn't know any better, but I do find it hard to believe that, as Jill pointed out earlier about the costuming, like why would it look like, you know, early 19th century like stuff and all that? Father has an answer.
Yes, because they just went next door to where they
Yes,
were
yes.
shooting westerns.
It's true.
And they're like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of like 19th century wardrobe that we can throw on our actors, and then go out on the back lot. But it's
everyone
kind of
could have been wearing
annoying.
those. Everyone could have been wearing those graduation robes, and I would have been totally fine with it. Like if you know what I mean. Like if it was set among brick and mortar buildings from the. I don't mind that the architecture could be similar, but like what I minded just was like how similar the garb was to 19th century Earth.
It just feels it just comes off as like kind of uninspired and a little lazy, maybe. Like they could have put like a little bit more effort into making these aliens a bit more alien. So that's one of the reasons why like this is one of the few episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series Season 1 that I dislike. I don't really like Beta 3, and it kind of like spoils the whole episode for me a bit.
Mm.
Yeah, it took me out of
You
the
can
fantasy.
call that cost cutting. I think they were trying to make it as cheap
Definitely.
as possible.
But everyone could have been wearing that the Landru robes, for example, or you know what I mean. Like it could have just been like
They're like,
something.
oh, we spent all of our money making this Gorn costume. Now what are we gonna do?
Well, there you go. That's what it is. They spent all the money on Landry's hair and makeup.
But that being said, Robbie and I were watching this together, kind of simultaneously and texting, and I do have to say that like the cast, Shatner, D. Kelly, Leonard Nimoy, even the red shirts that weren't wearing red shirts, they look great in those Western outfits. Like everyone looked really nice, and like I feel like their hair was even combed a little differently for it and stuff like that. Speaking of DeForest Kelly, what did you guys think of the just the performances of everyone in this episode? Like how did you feel about like for me, I found it really cool to see the brainwashed version of Dr. McCoy, and how DeForest Kelly was able to pull off that crazy really well. And I liked all that stuff. I liked the tension that was built up in those scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think if it had been anybody else, I don't think they could have pulled it off quite as well as D. Kelly did it. He really did. He did. He probably felt so comfortable. I mean, for years he did westerns, so he probably felt the most comfortable in that outfit than a lot of the others. So
It's true.
yeah. But yeah, he did. I think the mad bit and sort of, you're talking in strange hushed tones. That type.
Yeah,
of
that
thing.
was cool. I like that.
That was cool. He sells it really well. But you could say that about D. Kelly generally. He did, when it came to certain things, he could really sell it as an actor.
Yeah, everything he does, it comes off as like very genuine and sincere.
Yeah.
In everything, every episode I've ever watched with him.
Mm.
Yeah, he feels very grounded.
It feels what?
He feels very grounded.
Mm.
It actually, I feel, William Shatner, I've explored a lot of his work. Like I actually tried to learn Esperanto when I was young. When I watched the movie Incubus. Have you guys heard of that movie?
I've heard of it. I've watched it.
There was a movement in the 60s, maybe the 70s. I don't have my dates correctly, but there was a language created called Esperanto, which was meant to be the universal language of Earth. Like there was this whole movement of let's create one language that is easy to learn, that has like very like it's very dynamic. It was like the language for the future, if you will, and it's called Esperanto.
All right.
And yeah, and William Shatner, they actually like as part of like the, I guess you could call it marketing or perhaps propaganda, uh, for the language to get it out there. They oddly enough created a horror movie called, well, it's like kind of a horror movie, but I'm trying to remember it. But it's called Incubus, and it's just Esperanto failed because if you watch the movie and you listen to it spoken, it sounds scary. It sounds like people speaking backwards, like in like in demon type scenarios. And plus, the movie's called Incubus, so I don't know what they were thinking when they when they did that movie to promote this new cool language. That being said, I met a lot of older folks when I was younger, when I was about your age, Robbie, who actually tried learning and had a new Esperanto. So the movement actually had some ground. Like it actually kind of like had like a moment, I guess. Obviously, if they made a film or whatever. But William Shatner speaks in Esperanto in the whole movie. I don't think he ever learned Esperanto for real, but it's a really bizarre movie. You should check it out. Mr. Shatner, if you're listening to this podcast, please let us know if you know Esperanto and if you can still speak it. That would be an interesting thing to find out. But I've also seen like the movie where he plays a cowboy with a cowboy kind of guy with the giant spider, and I've seen the Twilight Zone episode. I've seen a ton of his TV appearances. Like definitely saw T.J. Hooker and stuff like that. But the rest of the cast, I haven't really like explored their ancillary work outside of Star Trek, and I think DeForest Kelley has a pretty prominent career. But I'd love to. That's something I'd love to do. We should maybe create a project like maybe Starfleet Boy After Dark starts exploring some of these like extra work.
I've just had a quick look. I mean, DeForest Kelley actually his career really took off in 1947. So Shatner started in about 51. So even then, he's got about 4 years on. I mean, Shatner was a lot younger as well. There was over 10, 11 years between D. Kelley and William Shatner. So I think there was more. He was more of a worldly, more established actor. He'd done as I said, he'd done an awful lot of westerns. I mean, for me, the one that I always remember is his Gunfight at the OK Corral.
Oh.
So he plays one. He plays one of the herbs.
And don't we get that here in Trek? Won't we have an OK Corral in TOS? If I recall correctly,
in season 3, in Spectre of the Gun.
Yeah, they're actually. I mean, it shows it. There's the publicity bit where you've got DeForest Kelley holding the gun by a barrel, going, "What am I supposed to do with this?" Just as a play on the westerns that he had done. So but I think probably because he had done an awful lot of movies, he'd done a lot of that. He was probably out of all of them, he was one of the more established actors in Star Trek at the time.
It's really interesting to see his post-Trek career. He actually did a lot of Trek after Trek. He's got Ironsides though. It looks like he was in a bunch of like TV things, and still staying in that kind of Western genre. It looks like The Bull of the West. I'd like to really go the Cowboys. He was a character on the Cowboys, but then he goes into the animated series, the motion picture, and then everything Star Trek all the way up until basically he passed away. So it's interesting how he kept doing it. He even did video game. I didn't know that. Star Trek Judgment Rights. And also the Star Trek 25th anniversary enhanced video game, and the Star Trek Adventure, which was a short. Do you guys know that?
No.
Yeah, there's actually a computer game called Vulcan Fury that they never released. Like the game was in development, and all 7 of the original series main actors, including DeForest Kelley, all did a bunch of voice work for the game. And I've always wanted to at least like hear all that dialogue they recorded, because that is like the last time that a lot of these people played their characters. And you have DeForest Kelley on there and James Doohan like before they passed away. So it's like the last opportunity we have to like hear them as their characters again.
This is really crazy. I just clicked on the Star Trek Adventure 1991. I have to go get a prop. Hold on, guys. I gotta show you this. I'll be right back. Make it show for a second.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go get
I
a prop.
played this game. If it's the one that I'm thinking of.
No, this is not a game. This is really cool. I'll be back.
Oh, okay. Because there was a game that came out in '91. It was like the 25th anniversary. But yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I was about to say, I think it'd be right. It would be cool to hear these last, it's like James Doohan, D. Kelly, to hear these voices, to see what they've done. Because, I mean, with Leonard Nimoy, we're quite lucky. We've got Alien Voices, which he did with John Delancey. So you have that, and obviously that, they were around a bit longer than Doohan and D. Kelly. But it would be cool to hear the script and these actors saying what the script is for this game.
This is blowing my mind here. So I looked at that credit, the Star Trek Adventure 1991, and when you look at what it was at the Universal Studios. There was a theme where you could where it picked 10 people from. It was like a ride / video thing. So I remember this clearly. Like my parents took me. I don't remember how old I was in 1991 because I'm bad at maths. But, but I was
minus
like really
30. That was 30 years ago.
Oh, so I was 40. So I'm 41 now. So that would have been 14. Wow, thank you. Jeez. I was a 14-year-old. That's insane.
That's hard to believe that 91 was 30 years ago. Like that doesn't.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that, and also that I was ever 14. That's insane. Like, like it feels so long ago.
But Robbie is like, yeah, 1991. That was a long ass time ago.
Robbie, you were a twinkle in your parents' eyes.
Sitting there thinking, God, you're old.
yeah, no. Robbie's not an ageist. Thank you. We so it's cool.
Well, he wouldn't hang out with us if he was.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But anyways, the attraction had would select 10 volunteers from the audience and place them into a Star Trek storyline. And I gotta try to find the video because I know I have it somewhere. The participants were dressed in Star Trek costumes and placed on set and coached to deliver scripted dialogue in several scenes. The scenes, which were recorded on video, were quickly edited. And then, so what it was is like you had the actors interacting with you. So you would say these lines. And I forgot this memory, like totally completely. Now I got to find, we have like mountains of VHSs, so I don't know if I'll ever find this, but it was like the coolest thing I ever did as a kid, and I got to be in the captain's chair. I remember it was really cool, but on set it was all green screen stuff, so I didn't like you weren't actually sitting in like on a bridge set. It was all like just green screen, and the chair was green or whatever, and they like superimposed you onto it. It was really horrible too because it was like VHS. But one of the mementos that my parents bought me, and this is very expensive, so thank you, parents. I know that this must have broke their bank a little bit. Oh, let me clear it. Is this jean jacket? See here.
Oh, wow.
Wait. So it says 1991. 25th anniversary Star Trek, and they got that for me at that attraction because you know how there's like a little shop after you do those adventures like afterwards, right? So this was from that, and I used to wear this as a kid, and look, it has a nice little embroidered TOS era thing. It's just like I feel like it's appropriate for DeForest Kelly because he would always wear jean jackets. And then I've got my little, which is also funny remnant from the era, it's my little Roger Rabbit pin, which was also a film that. So I must have got that at Universal Studios. What's that?
A jacket like that in the voyage home.
Yeah, he does. He wears like something similar to that, and yeah, but he's a jean jacket kind of guy. It's kind of a Western. It's a kind of a Western type of thing in the United States. Right?
I always wear denim jackets. Yeah,
jackets.
That's what I wear in the winter. I have one of those that since I was a little kid, that was always my thing.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to show off, audience, but I just thought that was sentimental, and I've shown this jacket on the streams before. But
you have,
but
a long time ago. I remember.
Yeah, a long time ago, but I didn't make the connection like that. Like I forgot, and then knowing that was what it was. And now I have to find the VHS because if I find it, that's a coup. I'm gonna put that online. That's really neat.
I think one thing would have been scary if you could still put it on.
I haven't tried.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure in my 20s I thought if I ever have a kid I'd probably pass it on, and that's why, I still have it. Well, I would never get rid of that.
No.
It's such a precious thing. So
That is really, really cool.
I'll try to fit. That's my goal. My fitness goal is to try to fit into that thing again. Although it's a 14-year-old size, so I don't think it'll happen. But that makes that jacket 30 years old. Clothing can last a long time.
It doesn't look 30 years old, I have to say.
No, I definitely handle with care on this one. So yeah, it's cool. Anyways, thanks for letting me indulge in that personal story, guys. Jill's like, put it on. Everyone's like, put it on. No. I'll try it off the air and then I'll send a picture. I'll do a selfie if it works out. Any audience and you guys, any final thoughts on this and ratings, or do we have anything else to talk about on this episode?
We haven't talked about the Archon at all, or like the fact that like the 22nd century ship that.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about it.
That might explain why these people are so Earth-like. Maybe is because like of this ship from 100 years earlier, and it would have been. It would have been shortly after Enterprise when the Archon.
That's right.
Appeared. So yeah, like 100 years before this episode would have been like about 12 years after the end of Enterprise.
Okay.
That would have been neat if Enterprise kept going to like have a reference to the launch of the Archon.
Yeah.
Now you got me all inspired.
Well, there you go. Let's speak to CBS and say, bring back Enterprise, bring back the next 3 seasons that we never got.
Interesting. What were you gonna say, Fathery?
Like it's also something that they visit in the IDW comic book series of the Kelvin universe. They show kind of like their version of this episode, but in the Kelvin universe.
They were very good. The IDWs were very good at slightly reimagining the episodes, because I think they did it on quite a few where they put it into the Kelvin timeline.
And according to the Star Trek Encyclopedia, which was like my Bible when I was a little kid, and I used to read the encyclopedia in the 90s when it came out, and I would like fall asleep at night like reading this thing and like wake up with it on my chest, this big ass encyclopedia book. But in that Michael and Denise Okuda wrote that the Archon was a Daedalus class ship because it was around the same time as the starship from that Next Generation episode, Power Play, where like Data and Troy and O'Brien get possessed by those ghosts. There is like that old 22nd century ship that was a Daedalus class.
Right
So
on, yeah.
The
Which
USS
looks like
Essex.
it looks like a predecessor of the Pasteur and the Olympic class. They have a very similar vibe to them, yeah.
It's like the Constitution class Enterprise, but with like a ball instead of a saucer.
Saucer,
This
yeah.
big sphere.
And the neck is also cylindrical and juts out from the secondary hull, which is interesting, yeah.
I've always been a fan of that design.
Yeah, it is a really cool design, and I'm seeing. I pulled up USS Archon, and there's like a cool, like Kelvinized rendering of it, which is really neat. I like this. Like, I can't put it up on screen because it's on another screen, but yeah, it's pretty neat. So do a Google search for that, guys, and check it out. Do we ever see the Daedalus class in TOS in the remaster? Did they ever render it for this? No, right?
No, all you saw was Constitution classes. You still didn't see anything else but that. Well, Mike actually does a valid comment, and I have to agree with him. He said, "Was anyone else upset that they never explained why the Red Owl was needed?" I think there is so many unanswered questions from this episode,
And that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a huge one, but again, obviously, I think this is why I think it would be good to probably revisit, like you say, and to find out why they did this. What did the crew of the USS Archon actually do as a prequel type thing? I think it'd be interesting to be revisited.
It would be neat to have what are they? It's Beta 3, right? The planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be neat to have a Baden character actually talk about, like, you don't have to like necessarily go back to the planet, but it would be neat to introduce a Baden character in a future, like in Discovery. Of course, it's 900 years later, but but it would I think it would be neat to see like Badens who are kind of like a post brainwashed society to be able to deal. I mean, 900 years is a little too long, so it would have been cool in TNG, I guess, or TAS, or even one of the like Voyager, or, well, not Voyager, but DS9 or something like that. So Badens, it would have been cool to see what became of the Badens outside of the tongue-in-cheek reappearance in Lower Decks.
Would it though? Like, are these people like worth revisiting?
Well, one imagines they're rehabilitated, right? Like that's what I always imagined.
That's what I thought they were a really clever thing to use on Lower Decks.
On Lower Decks.
If I can bring the slightly spoilerish thing, but
yeah, spoilers for Lower Decks. If you haven't seen it, cover your ears.
They just use them for that gag, but I thought it was a good idea to go with Beta 3 in this episode because it's not something that would probably be interesting to re-explore and visit again. So that's why it was a smart thing to use for that joke in Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, so go ahead.
The whole concept of Landry reminded me of a communist society.
How so?
Just the way that Landry was oppressing these people and in control of these people. He was like a dictator in that kind of way.
So like more like a dictatorship, because on paper communism's not supposed to be, but it's on paper that it's not supposed to be like that. I don't know. We might have some folks who have more knowledge about that than I do, but yeah, I think it definitely resembled a dictatorship, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think communism is more of everybody's equal.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
Ideally, yeah. That's how it should be. But like I think that we associate negativity with communism because of what happened in the United States with our campaigns against the Soviet Union and stuff like that. But is there? Does anyone know? Is there a successful benevolent communist government or society?
Is China still communist?
China and Vietnam and Cuba.
And yeah.
But I feel like Cuba was I don't know, it's a gray area, but it was definitely a sort of a dictator ruled.
Yeah.
I feel like people take communism and warp it into a dictatorship. They turn into dictatorships somehow.
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's meant to be everybody's equal, but some people are more equal than others.
Yeah.
It's hard for a lot of those countries to have like democratic elections too, because then like the United States will go in and they'll install like their own person through their election. So, but yeah, this episode does definitely like kind of show like a totalitarianism. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. And Landru's a typical totalitarian with his flair.
Yeah.
I hate when Landru says that Landru couldn't put his soul in the machine. I require Picard's soul to be in his synth body.
Yeah, that was one of Kirk's arguments to Landru when he's trying to go there. He was trying to say that it wasn't his soul, it was just his intellect. that was there. But I think that's very much of a 1960s standpoint on that now. I think that's,
The interesting thing about that concept too is there is a lineage, Jill, for your thesis, from that actually going into TNG and then going into Picard, because you have this idea or this concept, and it's very evident because Landru does seem soulless, if you will, in a way. But then you have Noonien Soong trying to do this, like where like he did the research or whatever, based on his mentor, Dr. Greaves or Graves. What was his name?
Oh, Ira Graves.
Ira Graves was trying to do this.
The Schizoid Man.
The Schizoid Man, Ira Graves was trying to do this, and it was always wonky or unsuccessful in some ways. So it's not until Inigo, what's his name? Not Inigo Soong. What's the name of the Soong in Picard? Why am I calling him Inigo? Oh, it is right. I did get almost right. I just mispronounced it. So Inigo Soong I think is the first one to take that research or that concept and execute it successfully, because as far as we can tell, the transfer of Picard's essence or being or soul is perfect into the golem body. So it is successful eventually, which opens up a new can of worms about what people can do. I mean, like, it's an interesting concept. I wonder if Star Trek Picard season 2 is going to dive into this a little bit. It's very cool. So yeah, I see a connection there. Good question or good point. The Vile Child and I brought it up in our review. Oh, we got to go check out your review, Vile Mike. I hate when Kirk says that Landru couldn't put his soul in the machine. I require Picard. Oh, that's a duplicate comment. Sorry, guys. Lower Decks establishes that, another spoiler for Lower Decks, that Beta 3 and almost nothing happened in the next 100 years. Yeah. Here's another question. Did anyone else catch that TOS basically showed a rape during the Red Hour on 60s TV? Granted, it was in shadow, but I never heard any uproar over it like there was with other aspects.
Yeah, well, I don't think I was trying to show that as like, well, this is like an okay thing. Like it was depicted in a way where it is meant to be like, oh yeah, this is actually horrible and frightening.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think, as I said, this is probably down to like the Purge. Basically that anything goes for 12 hours or forever it was. I think that's why when the niece or the daughter comes back to the hostel, she's the way she is, because she's probably been raped herself, or not that they actually say that, but she's so hysterical of what's happened that night. You could imagine God knows what's happened, but I think it's like the Purge is anything goes. They couldn't care less what it was. And I think, it doesn't surprise me that it was. But that woman threw herself at Kirk as well, right at the start of when the Red Hour starts. She throws herself, and she, this other guy pulls her off. So I think it was going both ways. It just wasn't, a man raping a woman. It could have been the other way around, for all we know. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It probably was missed.
I think the suggestion behind the Red Hour was that, like, in order to maintain this like pleasant state, the rest, I don't know how many hours are on this planet, but the rest of the time you have to have this hour in this festival or whatever in order to maintain this like pleasantness, because the nature of these aliens, who are very human like, so I imagine they have similar emotions and things like that, their nature is one that, like, if they didn't have these outbursts, perhaps they couldn't be controlled as well. I don't know, it's a stretch, but but I will say that like also what I've noticed, and maybe this is incorrect, but in the past, so this was like I think Star Trek. It's unclear if TOS was geared at children per se, but it was definitely geared at like a more mature audience or a guided audience perhaps. Like it was definitely like if it was a family show in the 60s, you'd never I don't think people typically plopped their kids in front of TOS till later, like in the 80s, and just left their kids to watch shows like TOS. But I think when this aired, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably watched as a family. And if those things happened, like, depending on the family, it might have been like, oh, look away, children, or, like, or a discussion occurred of it or whatever. But I don't think it was ever meant to be a show that was just geared to a younger audience. I think it was meant for like an adult audience, like as far as I am aware.
Yeah, I think you'll probably find it was more the 70s. I think when it went into syndication, that's when kids was starting to see it more.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
And overall, I would say that, I'm fairly conservative in what I think children should be watching, but I think overall, I would do a curated TOS, and it's probably pretty safe to show to younger audiences. I personally, if I had kids, would watch it with them, like, because I have no problem with it. I love Star Trek. I'd watch it over and over and over. So, but in general, I wouldn't introduce the only series that I think I wouldn't introduce to a younger person is Discovery. I think I would wait for like a little older person to do Discovery. But overall, I think all the other Star Treks you can watch with younger audiences as long as it's kind of guided or there's a discussion about it and stuff like that. Just my thoughts.
Have
Sorry,
important themes. All the shows have mature themes, and TOS especially can be quite dark.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, this prompted a lot of discussion in the audience. We are going to try to wrap it up soon because we try to only go for an hour, but let's see here. So there was an uproar in my living room over it. One of the reasons it was horror when we first wrote. Jill, that's awesome that I forgot that you actually watched these when they first aired. That's pretty cool. Yes, in context, the rapist was not supposed to be punished for those actions. That's part of the horror of this society, isn't it? Right? Like, we 5 kids watched it first one with my mom. I was 7. Okay, yes, but this is the same time period where married people were not supposed to share a bed on TV, at least near that time period. I think it's after. I mean, I feel like this is well into the free love movements and things like that. I think this is more of a transitional period in humans. I think people moved quickly out of that. There was definitely that element, like I Love Lucy, ironically, is that show where Lucy and Ricky slept in separate beds and things like that. But I was told by a lot of older folks that even though that was on TV, in reality, folks were sleeping in the same bed together and stuff like that by that time. It was it was just on TV. They didn't show it.
Well, I think it's TV and movies. The odd thing is they wouldn't show a man and a woman in bed, but could actually show 2 men in bed.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
You used to have the likes of Laurel and Hardy. Not Laurel and Hardy. They actually were in the same bed together, so it was quite ironic that you could actually have that.
Man, this is good. This is good. These are good questions and good conversation. Really interesting stuff.
Adventures of Superman from the 50s with George Reeves as Superman. They did like a commercial or some serial that would air with the episodes, and originally they wanted to have Lois Lane and Clark Kent like eating breakfast and just be like these cornflakes sure are good, dumb commercial like that. But then they thought like, no, we can't show them like having breakfast together in the morning. What would that imply?
Because
like, they're sleeping together. Like we can't do that. So they changed it. They changed it to Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen eating breakfast together.
Hey, I ship that. That's funny. That's really cool. That's hilarious.
But yeah, the first couple on American TV to like sleep in the bed together was actually the Munsters in the 60s.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
very cool. Not even
It
the
used-
Adams Family.
it
Oh,
used
they're
to be
much older,
shocking.
right? The Adams Family started like in the 50s, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if you ever like see their bedroom.
Their bedchamber or whatever. Yeah. Interesting.
used to
Very
be-
interesting stuff. What was that, Robbie?
It used to be shocking just to show a toilet being flushed.
This is true. This is
I
true.
can't remember the film. It was directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
Psycho.
Yeah,
Psycho, where he rips stuff up and throws it down the toilet and flushes it.
And
Right.
that was offensive.
I was
Wow.
like,
how far we.
vulgar. And
How
clutching your
vulgar we.
pearls.
I often clutch my pearls. Wow, this was not what I expected of this discussion, but I loved it. This is a very fascinating discussion. Thank you, audience, for your questions. Thank you, guys, for.
Just one little
Oh
tidbit
yeah,
before
yeah,
we go.
yeah.
Charles-
Go.
Charles Macaulay, who played Landru, also played Jarris in Wolf in the Fold.
Oh,
So obviously he had a bit of a wig on playing Landru, and then he had a beard in there. But yes, he also played Jarris, who was, I think, like the mayor of the city, or he was like in the whatever the guy in charge of the city. He played Jarris as well in season two.
yes. Wow. I see it. Oh, what an interesting thing.
Mm.
Huh. Good job. Good job. Charles Macaulay. Interesting actor. He looks like there's another role where he's like mustache and beard and very cool. I can't wait to see him again. That's neat when I like that actors it's a TOS tradition, I guess, to have your actors playing it's a Star Trek tradition, sorry, to have your actors coming back and playing different roles, because that happens quite a bit in Star Trek over and over. So I really like that as well. That's very cool. Discovery does that too with our beloved Kenneth Mitchell, who is playing lots of different characters, and he just recently played a character on Disco season 3. So that was very cool.
Not really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Yes, next week is Space Seed, a really iconic episode, and I think maybe we might do a Star Trek 2 thing on Starfleet Boy After Dark. Good idea, Jill. Bringing that up, that might be a really fun thing to do. Well, I just want to say that I definitely enjoyed this discussion more than I enjoyed the episode. But yeah, it's not an episode that I do think that although it does have value still because it does prompt a lot of these ideas and conversations, but I would give this episode in my 10-point rating scale a 6.
I'm the same. I was going to give
You're
it
on
a
6. Awesome.
I'll give it 4 red hours out of 10.
Nice. And Robbie, where do you land on this episode?
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I think the theme is really important, but the execution just wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, excellent. All right, that was cool. The Starfleet Boy panel has decided. Audience, let us know what you think. Please join us again next week for Space Seed, and thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you more, and also tune in next week, of course. Thursday, we're going to have... we're not going to have a Thursday full discussion. I think I'm going to start moving the discussions to the weekends because it's just easier on Starfleet Boy. But I will have something going on Thursdays on the old time slot for when we were doing the Disco and Lower Decks and Picard discussions until we resume with new stuff. So there will be something coming out every Thursday at 6:30. But tune in soon. Keep looking on Twitter for when we're going to do our season 3 recap of Star Trek Discovery. But Tex Trek is definitely doing it, right? On Friday of next week, we're doing a season 2 season 3 recap, right?
Yes. So I'll go ahead and plug that if you'd like. But Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, you can catch the Tex Trek podcast live recording on YouTube. And then it'll be available later as an audio-only podcast. but we will be discussing not only Star Trek Discovery Season 3, but also Lower Deck Season 1, and just coming off of this last unprecedented 23 straight weeks of consecutive Star Trek, which has never happened before.
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
Unpacking all of that.
We're heading, it's going to be in 2022 or 2023, but we're heading for a time where we may have 52 weeks of Star Trek, right? Like, depending on how it all lines up.
Yeah, and I will die because I'll never get any sleep because I'll always be trying to cover all this stuff.
By then, maybe you'll get some, maybe by then Paramount Plus will send you screeners or something to give you a little break so you can see these things in advance. And since you have a pretty awesome show to review things on, maybe they'll send them to me and I'll share.
It's a lot of work. I was thinking, like, adding up how long it takes me to do everything, and it's about 10 hours of work a week, and I've been doing that for the last 23 weeks, so I'm very tired.
That being said, if to help kind of like get Fathery to devote a little more time in his life to doing this and like get a little compensation for it, don't forget to subscribe and talk about Text Trek. We recently got Text Trek up to 500 subscribers. Let's try to get Text Trek up to 1,000 subscribers. My birthday's in May, so I'm gonna set an unofficial goal of 1,000 subscribers on Text Trek by May. Do you agree with that, Fathery?
That's a lot in a short amount of time.
I know it's ambitious,
we
but
can
let's
try.
Let's see what we can do. And so check out Text Trek, and then of course we'll continue doing our must-see YouTube Friday night events with Starfleet Boy After Dark. We might be doing something a little different than what we've been doing, like watch-alongs and stuff like that. I kind of miss those, so we'll see what happens going forward. But we love your ideas, so if you want to let us know and guide us into what direction you want us to take Starfleet Boy After Dark, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know in the comments or on Twitter, or just tweet me or at me or whatever. Next, you should go to Trek Cat on YouTube. Tell us what's going on over there.
It's been fairly quiet recently. I've been actually getting all the pieces because obviously all the builds that I do come out of my own pocket. I pay for all of them, so I've now got the Titan to do.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just getting the pieces now for the refit Discovery. So I've managed to get all the design for the refit Discovery.
Are you going to have floating nacelles? Detached
Well,
nacelles?
yeah, it's actually clear blocks, bricks that are actually between the two. So it looks, it gives that illusion of detached nacelles. So I've got that to do. I've been getting quite a few recently. I mean, I didn't do it on the video, but I have got the little mini season 1, season 2.
Oh.
So this is just a little version of this is like the micro version. I did a bigger version, obviously, of the Discovery. Can you get it? This is obviously the big version. So you have,
dude, that's so cool.
So you have those two. You got the little ones.
I think it's interesting that you made the livery gray and blue instead of bronze. That says something about how you feel about that, maybe, right?
Yeah, to be honest, gray's easier to get than.
And then bronze. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It was a practical. It was a budgetary. I got it.
Yeah, I just did a giveaway for the new year. Where I gave a Grogu and the Enterprisey.
Fantastic.
So that was Corinne and Don Paris won those two. So yeah, so I will be doing some builds again. It's getting the time because obviously I do the stop motion for the build, so it takes a little bit longer to do than just a podcast or anything like that. But yes, I do have some builds coming up very, very soon.
Everyone check out Trek Cat, and you recently reached a milestone, right? Like 100 subscribers.
Yeah, well, I've actually hit 130 now. My big
Nice.
milestone. My big milestone was actually on Instagram. I had 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
So yeah, I have
Congratulations. That's a big deal on Instagram. I think you get some special features unlocked at that level, right? Like,
Well, if it is, they haven't told me what they are.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
It used to be. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm about 80 away from 1701 on Twitter.
Oh, wow, nice.
So
That's
I've got
the magic Twitter number. That's very
magic
cool.
Twitter number, the magic number, and as I said, I've just about 131, 132 followers on YouTube. So it's slowly growing.
I encourage the audience to go and follow Trek Cat Cat on everything. And very cool. Do you have a Starfleet Boys birthday goal for your channel that you want me to promote as well?
Yeah, go for it. I don't know what it's going to be, but yeah.
Maybe at your rate, let's get you to 300 maybe by my birthday.
Maybe 200 maybe, but 300.
All right, let's do 300 by my birthday for your channel. All right, and so Earl Grey Trekkie also has. Oh wait, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll also be on Questionnaire Trek later tonight.
Oh, you're gonna be on. Great, excellent. Yeah. We'll see you there. I cannot make it, but I will be in the audience. Earl Grey Trekkie, what you got going on your channel? Newly born on YouTube.
I'm not sure yet because I've been quite busy with school. I'll have to get something sorted.
But there is content up there already, so everyone go visit Earl Grey Trekkie, and I think let's try to get you to 100 subscribers. Have you reached that yet?
I think we're about 85.
That's a good. I think we could do that by May. So that's our Starfleet Boys' birthday. We'll come back and see how everyone's channel did with subscribers. By the way, when you get to 100 subscribers, Ian, I don't know if you know this, but you can have your customized channel name. Scoop that up.
I've got that. Yeah, I've got that on
Okay.
YouTube already. Yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
It's very, very cool.
I've just followed Mike as I've just seen. He's just a bit out to me.
Oh, let's see here. I demand you make me one. I will give you 3 slips of gold pressed latinum. Nice. So he's asking for a commission. Yeah. Very, very cool. So of a disco. And then TCC, did you see the bird of prey I made when I was bored one day and saw some knockoff Legos at the dollar store?
Well, I will be. Yeah, no, I'll have a look. But that's another build that I'm planning on doing. There's a couple. I've already got a D7 up there, which I've done, but I'm looking to do a bird of prey. That's one I would like to do.
Nice.
I'd also like to do some more Romulan stuff, but I've not got around to Romulans yet.
Excellent. And now you have Navaran ships to do, which is fun. New name with no spoilers. That's awesome. Chill. Should we watch Wrath of Khan for next week too? Yeah, watch it if you like. There's going to be Wrath of Khan stuff related to Space Seed for Starfleet Boy After Dark, so for sure.
Watch the director's cut. Far better.
Yeah, director's cut's awesome. I love that version too. So yeah, check it out. All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much for enriching my Saturday. It's nice to have Hangover the Next Generation with you guys. I really appreciate it. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time.